It just unfolded. London has been plunged into absolute turmoil, and the ripple effects are still spreading. Moments ago, Sadiq Khan, the mayor of London himself, was taken into custody by the Metropolitan Police. This is not gossip. This is not assumption. This is the kind of revelation that tears through Westminster like a firestorm and leaves everyone scrambling for explanations. Phones are already buzzing nonstop in Parliament. Reporters are rushing toward Downing Street. And insiders are murmuring that what comes next could become the biggest political scandal in years. What we are witnessing at this very moment is nothing less than historic. For months, there have been hushed discussions about possible inquiries circling around City Hall, but nobody, not even Khan's harshest opponents, predicted this. Based on several sources close to the Met, today's arrest is tied to a significant investigation that may involve some of the most influential figures in the nation. This isn't a traffic fine or a minor check. This is a large-scale operation, and it's unfolding at the top tier of British politics. Here's what we know so far. Khan was reportedly taken in after a private meeting in central London was suddenly interrupted by senior officers. Witnesses say the mayor appeared shocked as he was escorted out under heavy security, and the atmosphere around City Hall has been described as tense, frantic, and fearful. Officials close to the mayor are refusing to respond, which only deepens speculation that this isn't just ordinary questioning. The political backdrop here is critical. For weeks, Khan has faced intense scrutiny over rising accusations of corruption, mismanaged funds, and refusal to act on major criminal probes across London. Westminster insiders insist today's detention is tied to a huge scandal that has been quietly unfolding behind closed doors, involving financial trails, hidden arrangements, and decisions that may have endangered the entire capital. If even part of what investigators are reportedly pursuing proves accurate, this could unleash a crisis far beyond City Hall. The pace of this operation speaks volumes. This wasn't a drawn-out, careful legal process stretched over months. It was rapid, targeted, and decisive, suggesting the Met either uncovered something explosive or had to intervene before vital evidence vanished. Remember, police don't detain sitting mayors lightly. Such a move only happens when the risks are extraordinary. What makes this even more unsettling is how coordinated it looks. Sources suggest this goes beyond Khan, with other influential figures now under scrutiny. That means today could mark the beginning of something much larger, a domino effect that could implicate senior advisors, council leaders, and even MPs. Picture the scale of this moment, a sitting mayor being questioned by police as part of a potential nationwide probe. But here's the part that will leave you stunned. Some insiders allege this scandal links directly to cases the Met was once accused of suppressing. That means this could extend beyond corruption. It might involve charges of cover-ups, failures to investigate, and intentional concealment of evidence. If true, we're not just facing a political crisis but an institutional reckoning. Let's be absolutely clear. The public deserves to know why this detention occurred. Yet so far, official sources remain silent. The mayor's press team has gone completely quiet. The Met has released only the most limited statement, using the familiar phrase, assisting with inquiries, the classic line when authorities are attempting to cover something huge. What makes it more explosive is the timing. Only days ago, Khan was pressed again for a full independent review into London's handling of organized crime, grooming gangs, and systemic failures in policing. He avoided those questions 9 separate times during public interviews this year alone. And now, less than a week later, he's in custody. Coincidence? Or did investigators finally uncover the smoking gun they needed? The atmosphere in Westminster tonight borders on panic. MPs are holding urgent closed-door meetings. Ministers are demanding updates. Even opposition parties are uncharacteristically quiet, as though everyone realizes this could bring down far more than Khan himself. The phrase circulating behind the scenes is unprecedented crisis. And that's not a term used lightly. Now consider the optics. London, one of the world's most powerful cities, has its current mayor under active police detention. For ordinary Londoners, this feels both surreal and alarming. If the man tasked with safeguarding the capital is being questioned in a criminal probe, what does that reveal about leadership in this country? This is only the start. The investigations will grow louder, the questions will cut deeper, and the pressure on Khan will become unbearable. Because once this story fully breaks, once the facts emerge, there will be no escaping it. No press release can contain a scandal of this magnitude. The only issue now is how far it reaches and who else will be dragged down. The real drama lies behind closed doors, as insiders are already leaking fragments that reveal a very dark picture. According to one senior Westminster contact, this probe began months ago after whistleblowers inside the Metropolitan Police quietly approached investigators with files they claimed had been buried for years. Those records allegedly described failures to pursue critical cases tied to corruption, procurement abuses, and even alleged connections between senior politicians and powerful business networks. The whispers suggest this isn't just about money. This is about influence, about who truly controls London, and whether decisions affecting millions were made to shield a select few. The swiftness with which officers moved on Khan indicates they feared evidence might be destroyed, or crucial witnesses might vanish if they delayed any longer. Consider that for a moment. Police feared the mayor's inner circle could interfere with the probe, so they went directly for the top. That is a staggering level of urgency, the kind that rattles the establishment to its core. And if this really links to claims that the Met once buried cases to protect political allies, then we are facing a scandal that could engulf not just Khan, but every senior figure who knew and remained silent. For years, critics have accused London's leadership of operating in a closed, secretive bubble, a system where accountability was a slogan, not a reality. And tonight, that bubble may finally be breaking. The dominoes are already beginning to fall. Reports suggest several senior advisors have either gone into hiding or are urgently contacting lawyers. Council meetings have been postponed, and Whitehall is preparing emergency plans in case Khan is forced to step aside. Picture the level of alarm required for government officials to plan for the sudden removal of London's mayor. That's not normal politics. That's crisis response. And while official spokespeople stick to carefully scripted lines about routine procedure, political insiders are openly speculating that prosecutors may already hold enough to file formal charges. That speculation alone is enough to set Westminster ablaze. Because if a sitting mayor is formally accused of misconduct or corruption, the pressure on him to resign will be unbearable. You can already see the narrative forming. Opposition parties sharpening their knives. Commentators predicting the end of an era. Labour MPs reportedly divided between those who still want to defend him and those convinced he is now a liability. This is exactly how political careers collapse, not with one dramatic resignation speech, but with a slow, unstoppable breakdown as allies abandon one by one until the figure at the center is left isolated. And here's where it becomes even more significant. There are rising demands for Parliament to seize control of the situation directly, bypassing City Hall if necessary. That would be unprecedented. But then again, so is detaining a sitting mayor as part of a major criminal probe. The constitutional consequences are immense. If Parliament intervenes, it could spark a full-blown clash between London's local authority and the national government. A power struggle unfolding in real time with the entire world watching, and we cannot ignore the international angle. London is a global hub, a city where investors, diplomats, and business leaders constantly monitor stability. Having the mayor detained by police sends a message far beyond Britain's borders that something is gravely wrong at the heart of the UK's political system. Foreign news outlets are already amplifying this story, casting Khan as a symbol of political turmoil. The pressure on the Met will also be immense, because while some will applaud them for finally acting, others will accuse them of political interference or abuse of power. Every step they take from here will be examined. Each leak, each statement, every new witness who comes forward will fuel the fire. And the public? They are outraged. Social media is overflowing with demands for full transparency. Hashtags calling for answers are trending, and ordinary Londoners are asking the most basic but devastating question. If the man elected to safeguard the city is now under investigation, who can they rely on? That question alone could inflict lasting damage on the political establishment. Trust takes years to build and moments to destroy, and tonight it is collapsing rapidly. The longer Khan remains silent, the worse it becomes, because a leadership vacuum is emerging. Someone must step forward to reassure the public that London is still operating, that its government hasn't spiraled into chaos. So far, no one has done so, and that silence is deafening. The truth is, this crisis may only be in its early stages. If the investigation widens, if other names are revealed, we could witness resignations across multiple levels of government. We could even face demands for a general election if public anger spreads beyond London. When turmoil of this magnitude erupts, it rarely stays contained. It moves from City Hall to Parliament to Downing Street, until the entire political system feels the shockwaves. The only question left is who will survive when the dust clears. What is emerging now from sources close to the inquiry is nothing short of explosive. Leaks from inside the Met indicate this probe is not only about corruption in City Hall, but about a vast web of influence reaching from local councils to major government departments. We are talking about contracts worth millions, favors exchanged behind closed doors, and decisions that may have endangered public safety simply to shield powerful allies. The word cover-up is being used more frequently by those in the know, and that should alarm everyone watching this unfold. Because a cover-up doesn't just happen by mistake. It means individuals in positions of authority deliberately worked to bury the truth. And if that is what investigators are uncovering, this scandal is about to reach heights no one in Westminster is ready for. Think about what that means. Every document, every email, every phone record once hidden is now potential evidence. This is the nightmare scenario for anyone who thought themselves untouchable. Because once investigators start pulling that thread, the entire fabric begins to unravel. Already, reports are emerging that raids have taken place on several properties tied to senior officials, with computers, hard drives, and documents being seized. That is not routine action. That is a serious escalation. When police begin confiscating devices, it signals they are tracking a digital trail. Financial transfers, encrypted chats, confidential exchanges. And those trails always expose the truth, no matter how carefully people attempted to cover their tracks. There are even claims, unverified but spreading quickly, that this investigation could uncover links between political figures and private security firms, allegedly acting as fixers, suppressing damaging material before it ever reached the public. If that's accurate, this goes far beyond a scandal surrounding one mayor. This becomes a story about how London has been governed for years, even decades, by a network that placed power above accountability. That is why the political establishment is so fearful tonight, because this is no longer just about Sadiq Khan's fate. This is about survival. The Labour leadership is reportedly holding emergency strategy sessions, concerned that if Khan collapses, the scandal will spill onto the National Party, weakening them ahead of the next election. And truthfully, they have every reason to be concerned. The opposition will seize the opportunity, hammering the government and demanding resignations until someone shoulders the blame. Public opinion can shift with alarming speed. And once it does, there's no reversing it. Picture how this will play out if charges are filed. Nightly news coverage of Khan walking into police stations, endless panel debates. Hashtags demanding accountability. Each passing day will keep the story alive and drain support from those still standing by him. The silence from City Hall tonight is deafening. Normally, during crises, leaders rush to reassure citizens, to control the narrative, to insist that stability remains. But Khan's office has gone quiet, and that void is being filled by leaks, speculation, and outrage. And the more people speculate, the darker the story becomes. Remember, this is not just a local issue. This is London, the capital of the UK, a city whose reputation matters globally. When the mayor is detained, it sends a message to investors, foreign governments, and everyone watching that Britain's political system is under strain. That carries consequences beyond politics. It impacts markets, trade, and confidence in the nation as a whole, and that is why tonight feels different. This isn't just another headline. This is one of those moments destined to be remembered for years. One of those nights when the country asks, how did it reach this point? People are angry, yes, but also deeply unsettled. Because if corruption can reach this level, if the system can shield the powerful for this long, what else has been hidden? How many other scandals remain buried beneath layers of bureaucracy and silence? The demand for openness is growing louder by the hour. And once that pressure reaches breaking point, no politician can ignore it. The calls for a full public inquiry are already deafening, with MPs across parties insisting this is the only way to rebuild trust. But such an inquiry would mean years of revelations, months of testimony, and the risk that even more damaging details emerge. That is why some in government are frantically trying to contain this before it spins completely out of control. But containment may no longer be an option. Once the public senses betrayal, once they believe they've been deceived, they will not accept half-truths or carefully crafted statements. They want responsibility, they want names, they want to see consequences. And now we've reached the point where this story shifts from scandal to a full-scale political earthquake. Westminster is bracing for impact, because if even half of what investigators are rumored to have found is proven, this will not only end Khan's career, it will spark a chain reaction that could topple senior officials, reshape party strategies, and force a reckoning at the very top of British politics. Already, pressure is mounting on Khan to temporarily step aside. But behind closed doors, party figures are quietly admitting they may have no choice but to demand his resignation if events escalate. The optics of a mayor clinging to power while under active police detention are catastrophic, and every hour he stays silent feeds the impression that he has something to hide. That silence is also creating a vacuum in London's leadership, with senior aides reportedly clashing over who should step in if Khan is removed. This level of infighting usually only surfaces when collapse feels inevitable. The media frenzy is unrelenting. Every network airing live coverage, every paper rushing special editions, every political editor chasing the next leak. And those leaks are arriving thick and fast. Allegations of secret meetings, missing documents, hidden payments. Each revelation feels more destructive than the last, painting an image of a city administration that may have been compromised for years. Public frustration is boiling over, with demonstrators already assembling outside City Hall demanding clarity. Social media is erupting, with hashtags like Khan resign, London scandal, and who runs London trending globally. The atmosphere is shifting from shock to outrage, and that is the most dangerous point for any leader, when the people move from being stunned to demanding accountability. Parliament senses the rising pressure too, with MPs across the spectrum pushing for emergency debates and urgent sessions to address the turmoil. Some are even hinting that direct government intervention in London's governance might be justified if paralysis continues. That would be without precedent. But this whole crisis is without precedent, and it's no longer just a domestic story. International media is blasting headlines about the detention of London's mayor, while global markets begin to shake as investors fear instability. Every delay, every unanswered question magnifies the fallout, escalating this from a city-level scandal into a national, even international, humiliation. The Met faces its own test as well. They must prove this is a credible probe, not a politically motivated stunt, which means they need solid results, real proof, concrete charges, or risk losing the very trust they are trying to regain. And that's why this storm isn't disappearing tomorrow. It will dominate the news agenda for weeks, perhaps months. The inquiry that follows could stretch for years, summoning witness after witness, peeling back layer after layer of misconduct, and ensuring every official who looked away is forced to answer. And at the center of this upheaval stands Sadiq Khan, a man who built his political career on pledges of openness, responsibility, and defending London's vulnerable, now confronted with the very accusations he once condemned. The irony is brutal, and it won't be overlooked by the public. This is the sort of scandal that defines an era, that drains confidence not just in a single figure, but in the entire structure of governance. The consequences could reshape the next general election, redraw London's political landscape, and further erode the fragile trust between citizens and those in authority. This goes far beyond one mayor. This is about who truly holds power in Britain, how it is exercised, and what happens when the system fails to protect the people it was built to serve. From here on, each day will bring fresh disclosures, new leaks, and mounting strain, until someone finally breaks. The real question now is clear. Will Khan fight on to the bitter end, dragging others down with him, or step aside in a last-ditch effort to salvage what remains of his reputation and his party? Either way, the nation is watching, and the clock is ticking. The truth is surfacing piece by piece, and no amount of political spin will stop it.